is episode 9. I'm Dan Rasanowski.
I'm Joe Schaefer.
And we are back after a little bit, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of a holiday hiatus.
A few weeks.
Started with, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all that good stuff. So now we're back. And being back, we also opened up a Patreon, which, just throwing it out there. We will talk about it at the end, too. Well, there'll definitely be a link in the description of this video on YouTube. But, like I said, I'll remind everyone once again at the end. And, yeah.
So just to say, the corny pitch, if you like what we're doing, any little bit will help, because we're gonna start putting... We stopped putting everything on SoundCloud because we hit the max of the free uploads, so we're going to start paying the monthly fee to upload everything there, so then you can get this stuff through SoundCloud and iTunes. We're going to look into Spreaker and Spotify, that types of stuff too. And then, in the description of the Patreon, Dan said we'll basically just any money that we'll just go right back into that. It'll just go into helping pay the fees, and if any amount of money came in that was superfluous, it would go towards materials. We'd buy some books that we can look up more information to just keep this going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're curious as to what we're going to be doing with it, it will be in the description, as Joe said. But all that aside, we are back, like I said, with episode 9 on colors. Mm-hmm. And we'll be talking about that in the alchemical sense, as well as a little bit in the occult sense. But let's get started. Joe, you want to kick it off here?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about colors in the realm of alchemy. So let me just start off by quoting our oft-quoted source, Julius Evola, from his book, The Hermetic Tradition. And this will explain why this episode came after our last one on planets. Quote, "In addition to the 3 fundamental colors, black, white, and red, others are also found within the literature. Essentially, there are 7 in all, which brings us back to the planetary correspondence mentioned before. But as for their place in the work, more than one interpretation is possible," unquote. One example described by Evola is attributed to Nicholas Flamel, a very famous alchemist and alchemical writer. Evola writes, quote, "For Flamel, for example, the appearance of 7 colors expresses the operation of the spirit that adapts itself to the body by means of the soul. The colors are equivalent to the 7 colors of the rainbow appearing after the flood as a sign of the alliance between earth and heaven, after the black raven did not return and the white dove flew back with the olive branch." He continues, "Thus, the colors are so many phases of the physical regeneration that follow the rebirth in the water, the opening of the 7 doors or 7 seals, the passage through the 7 planets, the knowledge of the 7 gods or 7 angels, the ascension into the 7 heavens, and the various septenary figurations whose possible reference to the 7 centers of life in the body. All these correspond to the Hermetic colors, which express the successive tyings and untyings of the knots of the telluric being as it is worked by the fire power," unquote. So, let's just go into the fundamental colors and their stages associated with them. As Evelyn noted, more than one interpretation is indeed possible, which is something that is just common in alchemical literature. There's a lot of just different interpretations, as we always are pointing out. I haven't come across much disagreement about the fundamental colors being black, white, and red. I mean, that seems to just be take that for what that's what it is. Black, white, and red are the fundamental colors in alchemy. There's also not much disagreement, and there really can't be, about this being the sequence in the work, black to white to red. It is common to see these stages called the nigredo phase, albedo phase, rubedo, nigrification, albification, rubification. Evola also calls them the white work and the red work, and the black work, I believe, if it's even called that, it might be associated with the separation and putrefaction, but I think I'll get into a little bit of that anyways. So, in the introduction to the Alchemy Reader, Stanley J. Linden notes the importance of color symbolism as a vital feature of discourse on making the stone. He describes the primary sequence similarly to J. E. Serlo in his book on symbols, writing, quote, "From black, putrefaction, to white, an intermediate stage associated with silver, to red, the ultimate stage, symbolizing attainment of the philosopher's stone or transmutation to gold," unquote. Linden also notes that there are additional intermediate stages marked by other colors to be found in the literature, like a yellowing stage called citronation, or the cauda pavonis, the peacock's tail, a dazzling display of varied colors, unquote. There are also many other names for alchemical principles, substances, and stages with color either attributed to them or describing them as having a certain color. Linden lists the following examples: white doves, black toads, crows, and vultures, green dragons and lions, red lions, and red men with white wives. Also, you can see people will be wearing certain colored clothing that'll come across as sort of symbolism, like I believe in the visions of Zosimos, there's a copper man, or there's an old white man, or there's a man wearing a red cloak, all this kind of stuff. This also comes through in the tarot cards, which we might get into with Oswald Wirth towards the end of the episode, perhaps, just as, a bit more just ground to cover. For instance, the associations that link to alchemy, Hermeticism, and Freemasonry. So, enough begging. Quote, he says, quote, "The Hermetic philosophers regard the colors that come to the matter during the operation of the great work as the keys to this art and as evidence of the truth and goodness of the matter as well as indicators of a good regimen of fire. They count 3 principal colors which follow one after the other, but this succession is interrupted by some other passing colors which don't last long. The first principal color is black. It disappears little by little and white takes its place. After white comes citrine, which they call their gold. Finally, the color red shows itself. This is the flower of their gold, their royal crown, etc. The passing colors are green, which marks the animation and vegetation of the matter, gray, or the reign of Jupiter, which follows immediately after black, or the reign of Saturn, and the colors of the peacock's tail. The color Tyrian, or purple, a Tyrian purple even, indicates the perfection of the stone. This is all in his entry for color. And purple being like a royal color, associated with that.
Okay.
Pernetti explains some more about the progression of the colors. For example, he tells us that if red precedes black, it's a sign that the fire was too intense and the operation will not succeed. Start over. Sorry. You gotta,
So it's always got to go black, white, red.
Yeah, otherwise, and this might come through when we start getting into like the actual act, because there's like the wet path and the dry path, and one is more volatile and can be risky. Mm-hmm. And I believe I do want to work on giving a sort of alchemical interpretation of Fight Club, and I think perhaps you could say he took one of the paths, either the wet or the dry, and it didn't go well. And Brad Pitt kind of, where he's usually wearing red, so he could be like the sulfuric ultra masculine,
Oh, okay.
Something I've been thinking about, but I haven't. I want to think more about it and sort of come up with. That could even be an podcast episode or something. We've talked about doing stuff like that in the past.
Yeah.
So red has to come before black. Otherwise, you got to start over. Black must always precede the white, and the red works because black is an indicator of putrefaction and the complete dissolution of the matter, while red is its perfect fixation. In other words, the end goal. So, like we've said before, you have to break it all down to purify your matter, or to work with the most pure as possible of matter to bring it to perfection, which is symbolized by the red and sulfur. And gold in a sense, but that's where it gets tricky because, like Pernetti even said, gold is like, it comes in between, like in that citrination, that's the gold, but then the red is the flowering of that gold or something. So
what's the end point?
Yeah, that could get a little confusing,
right.
So I just kind of want to, now that we kind of have an understanding of the 3 main colors, I do have a small passage I want to read from an ancient anonymous text from the 8th or 9th century AD that kind of goes through, it'll just come through. So it's basically like saying, all right, now that we've armed you with some of these like symbolic interpretations, let's go right into a text, let's go into a source, and just, you could see it come through. So it starts off from where I begin. Quote, "Thus having brightened what the darkness hid within the dragon's entrails, thou wilt bring a mystery unspeakable to light, for it will shine exceedingly bright and clear, and being tinged a perfect white throughout, will be revealed with wondrous brilliancy, its blackness having all been changed to white. For when the cloud-sent water flows thereon, it cleanses every dark and earthy stain. Thus he doth easily release himself by drinking nectar, though completely dead. He poureth out to mortals all his wealth, and by his help the earthborn are sustained abundantly in life, when they have found the wondrous mystery which, being fixed, will turn to silver, dazzling, bright, and kind. A metal having naught of earthly taint, so brilliant, clear, and wonderfully white. Then sees again this dragon change to white, a change divinely wrought, as I have said, by means of albification twice performed. And slaying him again with knife of fire, draw all his blood, which gushes blazing hot and red as shining flame when it ignites. Then dip the dragon's skin into the blood which issued from his belly's gory wound, as thou wouldst dip a whitened robe in dye of murex purple. So wilt thou obtain a brilliant glory, shining as the sun, of goodly form and gladdening the heart of mortals who behold its excellence." Unquote. So as you see there, the progression, it gets all the way to the royal purple at the end, and you can see kind of referencing, one step leads to the next. You have to dip something in, you have to go back, use the step you had from, each color going to the next one. It just comes through in that passage, which I just found interesting. So I do have briefly some color associations, but I don't want to did you say that's kind of like what you had?
Yeah, that's kind of what I talk about a little bit, but I'm sure there's probably a bit of a difference. I can kind of see...
Here, I'll just go through them. If there is a little repetition, repetition is just the best aid of memory, so whatever.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. According to Serlo, in a Dictionary of Symbolism, I forget the title, black is associated with guilt, origin, latent forces, and signifies prime matter, a symbol of the soul in its original condition. White signifies minor work, first transmutation, and quicksilver. Red signifies sulfur and passion. Gold is the purest metal. Another passage in Evolas, the Hermetic tradition, gives some associations with the fundamental colors. Quote, "After black, which is appropriate for Earth, the obscure lead and Saturn, we have the white of Mercury, the moon or Venus, the red of the Aries Mercury, and the golden color of the gold or sun," unquote. So for that Aries Mercury, if you listen to our episode on Mercury, we did touch on that a little bit. Oswald Wirth, in his book Hermetic Symbolism and its Relation to Alchemy and Freemasonry, mentions in a section devoted to decoding and alchemical painting that red is related to the Masonic column Jachin and the inspiration to act, while white is related to the Masonic column Boaz, and thus illumination of understanding. So that about wraps up for me for now. You can go into yours, and then we can go into maybe just some tarot associations if time allows.
Yeah, mine will be really quick. It's pretty much just describing, the colors, their associations, as Joe just said, pretty much, as well as when to use them in certain rituals and so on and so forth. So I will start with black because that is, step one.
And almost every book on the occult is black.
That's true. Even the one I have right here, it is black.
Dan has his massive volume of 3 books of occult philosophy at his side by Henry Cornelius Agrippa.
And it comes in handy for sure.
Yeah, it's a good book.
But to start, black, so it's almost like no other color. It absorbs light, unlike other colors, but it reflects very little, if any. This can give a false impression that black is the absence of color, which it's not necessarily. And it also means that people associate it with, evil or, just not good, detrimental, it's bad, which isn't the case. It can also mean kind of how you stated, where it's step one to building something greater. So it's not inherently evil. So some of the things associated with black are the planet Saturn. It has a day associated with it, Saturday. Energy for it is female, believe it or not. In the occult, it's not male, it is female.
Okay.
It's used for meditation rituals, uncrossing
Maybe
rituals.
that has to do with, passivity, because it reflects very little light, you said.
Exactly.
So thus it would be connected with female, which is the passive principle, as opposed to the masculine active. So that might make sense.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to look. I didn't
because it's merely taking in.
Yeah, it's
and
not
reflecting
giving,
very little, which is just like passivity.
Of course.
So there you go.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it, actually. So, as I said, meditation rituals, it's used for meditation rituals, uncrossing rituals, spells to banish evil and negativity, though I suppose it can, since it absorbs a lot and reflects very little, I suppose it could absorb a lot of, negative energy as well. To break up or block the stagnant situation, so, if there's something that just isn't moving, if there's something that isn't happening, that can help. And then it also has the crone. Is that a tarot card?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Oh.
The crone?
Yeah.
Is it crone or couronne?
It's Crone. I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with the tarot cards myself.
I'm flipping through at the moment. I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, that being said, the crone and the unconscious is what it's associated with. There is black spells used in rituals to induce a deep meditative state. So this is pretty much like meditating. I think you're supposed to use black candles when you meditate if you choose to do so. Or to banish evil or negativity, as I said. And it attracts Saturn's energy. Yeah. So, coming into planets once again. That it also, magical purposes, absorption. It's why it's used for funerals. That go to a funeral, you wear black. Mm-hmm. That has I think that's like a almost very ancient like practice or thing that people think that that's just what you do, but it has like a meaning. It has a purpose. So there's an everyday sort of application to this color that people just think, well, you just do it because why not? That's what you do.
Right.
But it has the ability to absorb quiet power, self-control, restriction, depression, sickness, but new changes and rebirth. So I guess that's the funeral thing coming in. It's a sad time. But it's a time to reflect, absorb, and then move on with your life and grow from the experience, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Wisdom, control, resilience, and discipline. Also, there's a personality associated with it.
Really?
Yeah, so, if your personality is this way, you're black. Or if your personality is this way, you're white and red, so on and so forth.
All right.
So black is someone who often dwells in his own dark recesses, a loner but through choice, a strong silent type but someone you don't want to deal with if crossed, a night person as the darkness seems to be their safe place, their solace in quiet space. The things that make the black person, black in quotes, unique, has also the tendency to dwell on things and has more bouts of depression than most others. This person tends to keep a lot of secrets. Yeah.
Because not letting absorbing, only kind of like retaining.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You're not letting anything go.
That's funny.
Oh shit. Magical uses banishing. So of course, this kind of just talks about this again. Magical uses banishing negative thoughts, again, and situations, reversing, uncrossing, binding negative forces, releasing, removing confusion, contact with the spirits, dark magic, defensive spells, can be used with red to increase intent. So here you can kind of mix the two together. I think you can do that with all the colors. It has elements associated with it: air, water, fire, and earth. Has a direction: east. Planet, as I said, Saturn. Day, Saturday. Number is 6. And magical tool, I think you're supposed to use these in the ritual. I think that comes across in some of the tarot cards too. You'll see swords or wands or scepters or different instruments, and I think that all has to do with the colors that they may be associated with in the picture. I'm not too sure though. There is also quite a bit of, believe it or not, there's plants and herbs and wood associated with each color too here. So I'll just go over a few because for each color there's like 15. Yeah, so the plant and herb. You have oak, yew, beech, elm, comfrey, holly, ivy, horsetail, reeds, Solomon's seal, mullein, cedar, clove, cypress, rue, botany, elder fern, yarrow, cayenne, dragon's blood, mandrake, and flax. Wood for black, you have oak, ash, aspen, birch, hazel, and rowan. There's also animals. Bobcat, dragon, panther, raccoon, which dragon just came up as like a symbol or an allegory, of course, in that little excerpt.
Right.
So, and this is the start, this is black. So, as I said, bobcat, dragon, panther, raccoon, rhinoceros, groundhog, blackbird, lynx, bat, owl, jaguar, praying mantis. I'm not too sure what feather is. It just says feather. Hidden secrets and changes. I suppose that's just kind of like what the color is. I don't know if it actually means literal feather. I think it does. It also has stones associated with it. Yeah. So you got, onyx, jet obsidian, all the black stones.
Black stones.
Yeah. Tarot cards now. Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, getting into stuff that, Joe will probably understand a bit more here. Death, threes, and the queens.
I mean, that doesn't really mean much to me.
Well, I mean,
but, yeah.
you got the book. So
yeah,
be like,
book
oh, yeah. So, and then it's got gods associated with it and goddesses, and they're all like, Achilles, Amathion, Atlas. They're very hard. They're Greek. Jan and Roman. Janus, Terminus, Odin, and apparently, Nordic too. Goddesses, Aradia, you get it. There's goddesses associated. There's like 8 here. Aradia, Aizan, Karna, Serdwin, Circa, So that's black. So then I will jump up to white here. We will just go over this very briefly. So there's a couple. You can use a couple different whites. There's lily white and off white. Depending on which one you use, it does different things. You're supposed to burn lily white, which is a mother candle. You can use like a mother candle. Burn for 30 minutes at each moon phase. The lily white, and this is, or you can use off white for like peace of mind. It's just more meditation purposes. Planet is moon.
Right. Yeah. Moon, Mercury, Quicksilver. Yeah.
Exactly. Day is Monday. Energy is also female.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
See, they throw you for a loop there.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of all colors: spiritual enlightenment, cleansing, purity, concentration, healing, truth-seeking. I mean, that's things you kind of think of when you think of white. Just purity and cleansing and cleanness. As I said, white spells purity, protection, the moon. Now, the personality for this one is spiritual, devoted, psychic, protective, open spaces, neatness, spiritual strength, faith, truth, breaks curses or cross conditions. I don't know if that's really a personality trait, but righteousness, East Cardinal Point, that isn't, but it's in there. Purification of a home. I think it's kind of broken up into sections here. Concentration rituals, divinations, healing, clairvoyance, water elements, so water coming into play there, alchemy, protection, purity, so on and so forth. Exorcisms, lunar energies at the very end there, with them associated with the moon.
Okay.
You have the element air associated with it, the direction east. Chakra is also associated with it. Planet is moon/mutable. Day is Monday/mutable. The number is 0. And I do know for a fact that in some of these tarot cards, because it says magical tool, there is a crystal ball and a mirror or a glass, and in parentheses, scrying, like a scrying glass. I don't know if you can see that right away, but yeah, so once again, connecting these to the tarot. There's more plants and herbs.
You sound overwhelmed.
Well, it is a lot. There's a lot associated with all these colors in the occult, and it's just like I scroll down, I see the plant and herb thing, and there's like 40 of them. So I'll just read the first 3. Rosemary, woodruff, mugwort, animal, dove, snowy owl, chameleon, stones, opals, clear crystals. Again, the stones associated with it are usually the colors of the color.
Okay.
The tarot is the Fool, and it has some gods, and they do appear to be... I don't know what these... I think so, Artemis. Okay, so some of them I do recognize. So you have, Fati, Guo. I think it's a lot of... all the gods and goddesses associated are from different cultures, but they do have a handful of them. And then, finally, red. So, what do you think of when you hear, the color red? Or what do you, promote? Love, sexuality, good health, energy... so on and so forth, passion, vigor, physical desire, war, pain, stimulator, aphrodisiac. Planet is Mars, day is Tuesday, energy is male or Amazon female. Yeah.
Okay.
But energy male, first and foremost, is what it says here.
Okay.
So, side notes.
It would have to be.
Yeah, they can't all be female.
Yeah.
There's different reds associated with it, just like there was white. Ruby reds, light reds, all meaning different things. Ruby reds, passionate love. Light reds, deep affection of a non-sexual nature. Cherry reds, physical and mental lovemaking, which is interesting. Mental lovemaking.
Astral projection sex or something?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, if he can do it.
Seduction.
Brian Bassey claims he can do it. I don't know if he actually can, though.
Make love with his mind?
Well, no, he says he can astral project.
Yeah, I remember
and
that,
I'm like,
yeah. That's a friend of ours.
Yeah, it's a friend of ours, but...
whom we love very much.
Very much so. The personality for this is bold, assertive, impulsive, extroverted, passionate, aggressive. There is no in-between for this person. They go from one extreme to the other, but it can be a fantasy ride for anyone who joins them.
Ooh, all right.
Mm-hmm. So, the magic uses, energy, passion, and love. A lot of, like love stuff and transformation and loyalty, forced sexuality, stuff like that. You may use black candles with this. So, again, you can mix the colors, as I said, with the black before. You can use red with it. Element is fire. Direction is south. Chakra is the root chakra. Planet is Mars. Day is Tuesday. Number is 5. And then the tool, again, going back to the tarot, which you'll see, sword, cauldron, incense burner, and candle. I'm sure those are in there. You got the plants and herbs, sunflower nettles, blah, blah, blah. Wood, redwood, and cherry. Got, the stones, of course, ruby, garnets, bloodstones, all the ones that are red. Tarot is the magician, cups, and 5s. God is Achilles, Aries, Atlas, Hercules, Mars, Thor, Zeus. Goddess is Athena, Athenum, Eris, Kali, and Minerva. And so... that will kind of just wrap up mine. That's just kind of like a slight overview. You kind of get the idea of how in the occult, depending on what you want to do with these colors, that's when you would burn the appropriate candle of that color, or when you would use certain things of that color in rituals, such as altars or cups, even blood, because as you said in your little excerpt, blood is red, so you would use blood. And yeah, that's really it. There's tons of other colors that I could go through, but they all have associations like that, and we would just be here for like another 2 hours me going over it. Which is why I told you at the start, I'm like, I had that all written down. I'm like, I can't. if you're really interested, we could always I can maybe put a link somewhere in the description if you'd like to read all about them. But that being said, that is the colors on my end. So
we're here. May as well. We can go just a little longer here and move into the tarot domain a little bit. And I'm flipping through, looking at the Oswald Wirth tarot deck, and on a lot of the main powerful characters like Force, Temperance, the Devil, Justice, the Pope, these people, the Emperor, the Empress, the Papists, they're all wearing red. And as far as how we were talking about black and white both being feminine, as you said in your associations over there, well, in the Oswald Wirth deck for the card number 7, the Chariot, it is being pulled by 2 bare-breasted women. The one on the right is black, and the one on the left is white. So that's interesting.
Look at that. Yeah, and then, okay, cool.
So let's go through. I am in Tarot of the Magicians by our main man, Oswald Wirth. You can get this in English.
This one is, in fact, in English.
This was actually a gift by our friend Ryan Bassey, who we just talked about. So thank you, Ryan, for your contribution.
Thanks, Ryan.
We could just go through a few colors. I mean, we'll give you just as much information as we can.
Yeah, go ahead, because that's way shorter than
and these are very short. And it's specifically how you would see them on the tarot card and what the connotation is there. So I'll just read a few, then you can read a few. Sound good?
We'll wrap it up.
All right, here we go. White. White, he writes, is synthetic, reminding us of pure snow. Becomes synonymous with purity, innocence, candor, loyalty, harmony, reconciliation, and peace. White dress of the communicants of brides, orange blossom, white flag of parliamentarians. It is also the color of integrity, of honesty, conscience, but especially of being, and of light as opposed to black. Nothingness is reflected, in fact, in gloomy black, the color of death, of fatality, despair, disillusion, but also of depth, seriousness, severity, taciturn application, conspiracy, and mystery. Nourishing earth is black. Every birth is carried out in darkness, in secret, hidden from the indiscreet. Now, just so you know, that was the longest passage of all these colors. The rest are all very short. So I'll read a couple. Gray. associated with ashes, the indestructible remains of what has lived, inertia, indifference, detachment, lack of determination, humility, poverty, sadness, self-effacement. Red, blood, the life-giving principle, activity, spiritual fire, warmth, love, courage, energy. So that just, there's a lot of agreement and everything, all these domains we're talking about here, because they are sort of overlapping. But purple is associated with spirituality, reason, willpower, domination. Blue is associated with the heavenly sky, contemplation, piety, fidelity, faith, and air. Violet, a combination of red and blue, is associated with intellectuality, discernment, mysticism, teaching, fusion of reason and feeling. And then the last one I'll read here is yellow, which is a complement of violet, he says. It's associated with rays of light, objectives reached, body, fixation, stability, harvest, honey, wealth achieved through work. So that would make sense too with it being the citronation, which comes after one of the alchemical stages. Oh, that kind of makes sense. There's a lot of agreement there. So I left off on yellow.
Yeah, yellow. So then you have, excuse me, orange or scarlet, which is a complement of blue. There is flame, material fire, vehemence. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Vehemence. That was close enough. Passion, ferocity, cruel instinct, selfishness, need for action, and Mars.
Just go a little slow.
Okay.
You sound like you're under the gun.
No, I'm not. Sorry.
I was trying to give you a hand signal.
No.
Like, slow down.
I was like, what's wrong?
And you're like,
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I was just enjoying reading it. Green, complement of red, vegetation, life-giving fluid, fuel for active fire. Venus, lascivity, languor, and laziness.
Feminine.
Laziness?
All that, like languorous. You see
like,
that. Like,
sure. Indigo, meditation, experience, and knowledge. Brown, wood, survival, tradition, superstition, concentration, loneliness, reserve, and discretion. Rose, flesh color, it says that in parentheses there.
Oh, okay.
Everything that is human or is related to humanity. So I suppose... Yeah, that's interesting, actually. Gold, intellectual perfection, treasures of the mind, incontestable truths,
yes.
Indestructible passions.
This is why also you'll see, if you see gold coins, it doesn't mean riches, it means like spiritual wealth and development and stuff like that.
Treasures of the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
So like a tarot card, perhaps, sorry to cut you off, but like a smart person who's like developing themselves, not just in a material sense, would be rich, and they would have like gold coins and stuff, you know?
Man,
so like if you go to some dumb woman lighting incense and she's like, oh, okay, you're gonna do well financially, just get out of there and be like, you're dope.
Yeah, because that's not what any of that's about.
No. Anyways, continue, please.
And the last one.
Ooh.
Silver. I'm going to read this real fast.
Okay.
No. Silver.
Go ahead.
No. Moral perfection, treasures of the soul, justified beliefs, nobility of the heart, purity of the imagination.
Wow.
Done. But
all
yeah,
right.
So that's all the colors of the Oswald Wirth Tarot of the Magicians.
All right.
So yeah, there was a lot of overlapping there between those two, which I'm surprised. I thought this is where they would
we
start
cite
to...
him all the time. Oswald Wirth comes up in I think like every single episode, maybe save one or two, but you know.
Yeah, true, very true. He is in here. He does come up in my book as well.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
So,
so there you have it, fam. Episode 9.
Yeah, colors.
We do have a Patreon up. Any contributions are more than welcome and much appreciated, but
Absolutely.
no pressure. We just enjoy doing this. We enjoy learning about it. Next, we're not exactly sure what we're going to do next, but me and Dan, we're talking that we probably will commit to a bi-weekly output. So every other weekend we will try to put out a solid episode. Because the topics now just demand much more research and more communication between the both of us. We can't just be like, oh, hey, Dan, just go look up Ouroboros stuff.
And
then we kind of we get it already anyways. And so we're just looking for sources to cite instead of like actually learning about it. Now we're hitting places where we have to actually learn about things more so, like new topics. But yeah, we'll see what comes next. I think we're just about done with like as much symbolism as we can clear up. Yeah. So now it's going to get harder talking about like the act and the royal work of alchemy and you know that kind. We were talking about this the other day. It's like we'll have to just figure it out, which is why I think committing to a bi-weekly output would be better for everybody.
Absolutely.
The listeners will get something that isn't just like rigged together quickly through like a couple hours of Googling or something stupid like that. Like we'll actually take some time, but we do that anyways. But
yeah,
like I said, it was easier because it was easier to understand. This takes like reading other things, comparing, seeing where, I understand this makes no sense, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, before it's just like, here's a symbol, here's what it means.
We want to try to provide slightly unique content, not just like parroting what other people say. So hopefully we've done that. I think we kind of have so far this, like actually explaining the ideograms, the symbols, where they kind of came from and the meaning embedded in them. I don't really see that much.
No, so. I think we did just fine doing that. So yeah,
all right, well, that's us tooting our own horn.
Yeah, thank you,
Dan.
As I said, there is a Patreon, so feel free. We will kind of get to that more, and we'll set that up more. We don't have any rewards or anything like that, so if you go there and you don't see that,
we gotta brainstorm for like member Patreon exclusives and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, and then we will also make it so that instead of just being a monthly charge to whoever subscribes, we will make it so that it is only when we put something out, because we feel that is the most fair and makes the most sense.
And last thing before we sign off, we do plan on trying to make videos with more effort into them, like almost like visual slideshows, because we know this stuff gets a little annoying and tedious to just hear described. So we're going to try to do that more and work on our chops with video producing. Who knows, maybe we'll even sit in front of a camera and like do a presentation. I don't know. We'll see. We got to work on that kind of stuff.
We'll see how it goes. But
one step at a time, baby steps. We're developing, we're growing, we're knocking them out. So
yeah, you got it. So that was episode 9 on colors. And I'm Dan Rasanowski.
Joe Schaefer.
And thank you for tuning in once again. It's good to be back. You guys take care.